Yes, you heard that right. There's a new space bakery at SpaceX. However, it isn't constructed to feed all the ravenous SpaceX engineers who work on the Starship at Boca-Chica. Instead, they manufacture heat shields in this bakery. The heat protection technology will be critical in ensuring the mission's success as Starship prepares for its first orbital voyage. In today's video, we are going to be talking about SpaceX's 1.3 billion space bakery. So, without wasting any time, let's get into it. For years, the SpaceX facility that produces the tiles has been widely rumored on the internet. However, in 2019, we noticed 3 SpaceX vehicles parked outside of what seemed to be a warehouse near Cape Canaveral, Florida. But it wasn't just any old warehouse. In May 2020, a site inspection took place, giving us a better look at the new SpaceX facility. It is stated to have 20 personnel at the time of inspection, who work in 3 shifts and operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The building is estimated to be 40,000 square feet in size. As the SpaceX Starship prepares for its maiden orbital test flight, the number of staff must have been increased. Let's talk about how they're made, now that we know where they're manufactured. The new SpaceX heat shield tiles are quite similar to the thermal protection technology used by NASA on the Space Shuttle. During the re-entry, they must be able to tolerate extremely high temperatures. They must have low thermal conductivity, as well as a high specific heat capacity and melting point for this. According to Elon Musk, the tiles are comprised of silicone and aluminum oxide. The tiles are made of 90% air and 10% silica, and they resemble heart shapes. Because air has a low thermal conductivity and a high specific heat capacity, this is extremely similar to the Space Shuttle systems. During the inspection, the red tiles were discovered to be cracked or damaged in some way. During the fitting, the ones designated in green were discovered to be misaligned. Now, this might be one of SpaceX's earliest and most significant challenges to overcome. It isn't as easy as baking a few foam tiles and placing them on the Starship. The Starship must avoid such checks in order to be entirely reusable. To put it another way, SpaceX intends to reuse the Starship at least 3 times every day. Similar technology was used on NASA's Space Shuttle, which required months of inspection and repair between launches. The Space Shuttle had a far more complicated form than the SpaceX Starship, which is the fundamental reason for this. The Space Shuttle featured a variety of tile shapes, and ice from the main tank would fall onto these tiles during launch, destroying them. If you love watching this video, then keep watching this video for more climax. Make sure to hit the subscribe button right below the video for more exciting videos. Let's continue. The Space Shuttle contains 20 tiles, whereas SpaceX has around 15,000 tiles. The tiles on the space shuttles were cemented in place, while SpaceX uses a red robot to weld the mounting pins onto the Starship's body, and then a human just comes along and pushes it into position. They chose the hexagon design because if they went with a square shape, the heat would transfer between the tiles, exposing the Starship's body. When compared to the Space Shuttle, the Starship's thermal shielding is simpler and more effective. The arriving mini bakery was identified on one of them, which was a wooden container. This might indicate that the mini bakery is being relocated closer to the manufacturing facility. This cannot be confirmed at this time, as there may also be some additional Florida tiles. What are your thoughts on SpaceX's new mini bakery? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comment box below. While SpaceX prepares for Starship's maiden orbital test flight by assembling gear and producing hundreds of Raptor engines, it is also planning for the next step. Last week, a local photographer captured one of the thousands of shipments that arrive at SpaceX's Boca-Chica Starship facility next month. This one stands out because the box label includes the words heat shield and mini bakery. In any event, this is merely another little delivery, possibly with SpaceX's newest batch of interplanetary insulating tiles, which are now being made in Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral, Florida. However, as the photographer who captured the image pointed out, the SpaceX crew that manages Florida's Starship thermal shield manufacturing refers to it as the bakery. The bakery, as the name implies, is one of Florida's 2 primary facilities. Its mission is to transform the raw ingredients into black hexagonal insulating bricks, which have begun to cover the spaceship prototype's exterior. The small bakery delivered on June 7th clearly implies that SpaceX has begun to construct some limited thermal insulation tile manufacturing capability in Boca-Chica itself. An example, beneath the roof of the larger Starship factory. Although the current number of tiles has just recently begun to increase, SpaceX has been developing, testing, and upgrading Starship's heat shield technology for over 2 years. SpaceX's bespoke tiles first appeared in public in July and August 2019, when they were flown into orbit on the Cargo Dragon spacecraft and then marked along Starhopper's dramatic 150-meter or 500-foot leap a few weeks later. If this SpaceX bakery sounds really interesting for the future, then keep watching because there's a lot more information coming. The Dragon continued to re-enter the atmosphere and splash down in the Pacific without incident about a month later, thereby marking the first partial success of the Starship's heat shield to enter orbit. With the start of full-scale prototype flight testing on Starship SN8 in the latter few months of 2020, SpaceX has begun to significantly expand the number of tiles put on Starships, going from a few to hundreds in a matter of months. Starship SN16 is outfitted with almost 1,000 tiles, despite the fact that the successful launch and landing of Starship SN15 on May 5, 2020 may mean it will never fly, while SN15 flies almost the same number of tiles. Although these tiles have little experience as insulation tiles on the Starship prototype, they are subjected to significant heat and mechanical stress during suborbital test flights launched and re-entered into the atmosphere. It's unclear how effective these sample tests were because at least part of the tiles set on each prototype was always damaged at some point throughout the test, unlike the Space Shuttle, which depends almost completely on catastrophically brittle ceramic insulation tiles. Starship's insulation tiles are directly applied to the hull, and the hull is built of steel rather than aluminum. The Starship's construction can theoretically survive temperatures of up to 800 degrees Celsius, 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit, while remaining functional. But the heat shield on the Space Shuttle must keep the vehicle's aluminum structure below 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit, in comparison to the Space Shuttle, which required over 20,000 tiles to be individually glued into place, the majority of which were not the same shape and size. There are 15,000 tiles that needed to be attached per Starship as of right now. Actually, it's more than that because many of the tiles will be broken during installation, as well as human error as they're being moved around. The tiles can't be too far apart to enable hot gas to seep into the gaps and destroy the stainless steel, but they also can't be too close together to bang into each other and shatter the robots that wield the mounting pins. This probably solves a lot of this problem. This is one of the reasons why the tiles are hexagonal in form. If they were square, hot gas could readily pass through the spaces between the tiles, exposing the interior structure to severe temperatures. It seems that you truly appreciate the world of engineering, even if it sounds like multiple levels of impossible to actually pull this off. It's difficult to be skeptical after all. SpaceX solves problems like these for breakfast, so despite the innocent name of the bakery, it's arguably one of the most important facilities that SpaceX has in its arsenal. It still has a long way to go to realize the Martian dream. We'll get to witness the heat shields completely at work after its Starship rocket completes its orbital test flight, but hopefully not be too much in action on the same routine astronaut starbase tour. Elon Musk said that he'd be happy with progress if the SN20 didn't explode on the ground, and he'd be even happier if the rocket got into orbit. The famous SpaceX methodology is to launch rockets just to get data faster, even if they explode. With that said, we come to the end of the video. What do you think about this futuristic SpaceX space bakery? Do share your thoughts below in the comments. It's time to hit all these like, share, and subscribe buttons below. So, this is all in today's video. We'll see you guys in the next amazing video.